Hello everyone. This is the 14th part of the story, I'm Voldemort. Chapter 113, Steve's Answer. After dropping Druella off, Tom brought the car back to Slytherin Manor, but he wouldn't be staying there. He opened another portal and appeared in his room in Kamar-Taj. As the portal closes behind him, he takes off his shoes and collapses on the bed. Because of the time difference, it's bright and sunny outside compared to America. Though, that wouldn't stop him from getting the sleep he surely needs. So, how was your date? A voice is heard from his doorway. I think it went well. Tom answers tiredly as he could recognize that nosy voice anywhere. In the door stood the Ancient One in all of her bald glory. That's good, she says as she strolls in and sits at the edge of Tom's bed. I've heard news from the Sanctum in London. Oh really, what did you hear? Tom mutters as he shoves his face into his pillows. You have become quite famous in your community. Everyone is talking about the mysterious Tom Riddle that killed the Dark Lord. She says that she sees Tom about ready to doze off. Huh? That was fast. I was planning on it though, so no big deal. Tom mutters again as his eyes start drooping. She hums and stands to cover Tom with his blanket. Good night, Tom. Good night, Mom. Tom answers as he falls asleep. The Ancient One just stood there shocked. She knew it was a joke when he called her mother earlier, but he didn't seem to be joking now. He must have spoken subconsciously. She smiles as that must mean he sees her in that way. A few tears fall from her eyes as she sits at the side of Tom's bed and strokes his hair. Outside the window, she sees many students training in the courtyard. Pride swells in her chest as she thinks of all that she's accomplished. If only she could spend more time on this earth to look after her adopted son. She always thought that she was ready to die. After all, she's been on this earth for longer than most. Although, those feelings changed when Tom entered her life. He shattered her plans and blocked her from seeing most of the future's important events. She couldn't even see her death anymore. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, she thought. The Ancient One has no idea whether she would die or not. That was far scarier than knowing 100% that she would die. Standing to her feet, she tucks Tom in and closed his curtains. Leaving the room, she looks back for a moment and smiles. When Tom woke up, he found out that he slept for 12 whole hours. The strain from the days of training without sleep, combined with his battle against Grindelwald, must have taken a toll on him. He decided to skip training this morning and take a day off. After cleaning up and getting changed, Tom left for Slytherin Manor. When he arrived, it was the middle of the day. Steve and Peggy were eating lunch served by blushing elves. Hello, Peggy. It's good to see you again. Tom announces himself as he enters the dining room. Tom, she says as she stands up and walks over, enveloping Tom in a hug. Huh? What's this for? That was for saving my fiancé, she pauses and pulls away. And this is for knocking me out. Slap. Okay, I deserved that, Tom says as he holds his left cheek. Yes, you did, she says as she sits back down. Has Steve received his punishment yet? Tom asks, causing Steve to glare at him. Nope, but I'll think of something far worse for him, Peggy announces. Steve started feeling paranoid about whatever she would do. That could be a punishment in itself. Well, feel free to ask for any magical help in his punishment. Think of it as an apology gift, Tom offers as he smirks in Steve's direction and takes a seat at the table. I'll let you know if I come up with anything and need help. She smirks as she stares at Steve's expression in delight. Now, Steve's paranoia started getting worse as he thinks of whatever she would do to him with magical assistance. Master wants lunch? An elf asked as it appeared at Tom's side. Yes, a full English breakfast, please. Tom says, and the elf pops away. Have you come up with an answer for me? Steve and Peggy pause at his question and looked at each other for a moment. We talked about it and I'm willing to join your team. Steve announces. I have a few conditions though. Of course, what would they be? Tom asked with a pleased smile. First, Peggy will join our team. Steve says and looks for Tom's reaction. That's fine. Although, I'll have to come up with some enhancements for her. Maybe some enchanted clothes and weaponry? Tom thinks out loud, causing Peggy to perk up slightly. What would that entail? She asks. Well, I'd have to look into it. Tom moves his hand to his chin and thinks for a moment. Things like bulletproof clothes and guns with unlimited bullets wouldn't be too hard though. He's already been thinking of those sorts of things for when he recruits Black Widow, so he should be able to make them for Peggy as well. Thank you. That makes me feel better about her joining the team. Steve says sincerely as Peggy says her thanks as well. No problem. What are your other conditions? Tom asks. I can't leave my men thinking I'm dead. I need to let them know I'm okay. Steve looks straight into Tom's eyes. Especially Bucky. Sigh, this one is a bit harder to agree to. If it was just Bucky, then yeah, sure. I wouldn't care one bit. If a lot of people know you're alive, the chances of that being revealed grow more likely to happen. Tom explains. I agree, but I can't keep it from them. I'm sorry. Steve apologizes as Peggy puts her hand on his shoulder in support. Seeing them like this, Tom couldn't help but sigh. Why must everyone make things harder? He thought as he tried to think of a solution. If you can't agree to this, then I'm sorry, Tom, but I won't join the team. Steve says as he stands to walk out of the room with Peggy trailing behind. What if I make them magically incapable of revealing the fact that you're alive? Tom called out, causing them to pause in their steps and turn around. Is that even possible? Peggy asks curiously. Yes. Chapter 114, Fidelius. What if I make them magically incapable of revealing the fact that you're alive? Tom called out, causing Steve and Peggy to pause in their steps and turn around. Is that even possible? Peggy asks curiously. Yes, it's a difficult spell called the Fidelius charm. Tom started explaining what the spell is. The Fidelius charm is an extremely difficult, multifaceted, and potent charm that can be used to conceal a secret inside an individual's soul. The witch or wizard who houses the secret is known as the secret keeper. A dwelling whose location has been protected by this spell is then invisible, intangible, unplottable, and soundproof. This is an extremely old spell, one of the most ancient of all. Tom has mastered every spell in Hogwarts already, and the Fidelius is one of them. It was a harder spell that took him longer than others to get down, but he mastered it all the same. So, only the secret keeper can reveal the secret, right? Peggy asks. Yes, we would perform the spell, and the secret keeper would be able to inform the howling commandos of the secret. Tom explains. But they wouldn't be able to reveal it? Steve asks with an impressed look on his face. Yes, even if they know, only the secret keeper can reveal the secret. Tom clarifies. This is amazing. Peggy exclaims. Magic tends to be like that. Tom says with a smirk. Steve and Peggy looked satisfied with this. All Steve cares about is his loved ones, and if they thought he was dead, that wouldn't sit right with him. Peggy was just happy that Steve would get what he wanted without the risk of someone leaking anything. Who would be the secret keeper though? Peggy asks as Steve nods to her question. Well, only wizards and witches can do it, or else I would make Peggy the secret keeper. It'll have to be me, I guess. Tom explains. All right, but what happens if I'm standing in front of someone that knows me? Would they learn the secret or something? Steve asks. No, they would see you as you are, but they wouldn't be able to recognize you as Steve Rogers/Captain America. Tom explains. Wow, and he would still look the same to everyone? Peggy's asks, receiving a nod from Tom. That's amazing. Yes, it is. Steve says as his face turns serious and stares at Tom. All right, I'll join the team. How do we do this spell? I don't want my men thinking I'm dead for another day. I can do it now. Tom says and pulls out his wand, aiming it directly at Steve. Fidel. He calls and white magic lightning hits Steve. The magic absorbs into his body, not harming him at all. Steve begins to glow white as the room brightens around him. Suddenly, a pulse of white magic launches from his body. At first, it expands around the manor, but it doesn't stop there. It expanded indefinitely until the white pulse passed over every inch of the planet. Once Tom finished and put away his wand, tears began to fall from Peggy's eyes. Steve notices this and tries to embrace her, but she pulls away and looks at him like a stranger. Peggy, what's wrong? Steve asks in alarm. Who are you? Don't touch me again, or next time there'll be consequences. She exclaims as she wipes the tears from her face. Holy shit. It worked. Steve muttered as he stared at Peggy with hurt eyes. Of course it worked. What do you take me for? Tom said in a gloating manner. Huh? What worked? Peggy stared at Tom questioningly. Can you tell her already? She thinks I'm dead for God's sake. Steve snapped at Tom. Steve didn't like the way Peggy looked at him, as if he were just a random person passing on the street. That combined with her thinking he's dead made him feel horrible. Yeah, sure. Tom says as he turned to a very confused Peggy Carter. Steve Rogers is alive. The second Peggy heard the words from Tom's lips, realization dawned on her. A smile formed on her face as she jumped into Steve's arms. I'm sorry, Peggy says as she remembers how she talked to Steve. It's okay. You didn't recognize me and thought I was dead. Steve interrupts her and holds her tightly. Both of them stay in each other's embrace until Tom clears his throat. Ahem. They reluctantly separate and glare at Tom for ruining their moment. Sorry, but don't you want to go and tell this to the Howling Commandos? After performing the fidelius charm, Tom opened a portal to the Hydra base where he left the Howling Commandos. They were still guarding it as ordered, since the Allied forces have yet to arrive and release them of their duties. Every one of them put their trust and hopes to find Steve on Tom's shoulders. When they saw the portal open in the hangar, their hopes skyrocketed. Messengers were sent to inform the other soldiers that were guarding the bunker entrance. The first to sprint over was Bucky, as he was already in the hangar. The other commandos trailed behind him with hopeful expressions. Did you find him? Bucky asks as soon as he got within hearing distance. I'll explain when everyone is here. Get all of the Howling Commandos here and I'll tell you all at the same time. Tom says and Bucky looks at him with impatience. We can't leave the bunker door unguarded. If you don't remember, you made the door into a mammoth and then made it disappear. Bucky reminds Tom. Sigh, Mimsy. Tom calls and Mimsy appears. Pop. Yes, Master? She replies. Can you go to the bunker door and cover it for now? Make sure that no one can get in for the time being. Tom orders and Mimsy pops away. What was that? Bucky and many others ask. Nothing I feel like explaining right now. Tom says dismissively. Now, call your men here so we can get this over with. The way Tom's speaking about this announcement of his doesn't sound good to them. After a moment of waiting, every howling commando surrounded Tom, waiting for him to tell them what's going on. Steve Rogers is alive. Tom informs them loud enough for everyone to hear. Suddenly, realization forms on their faces. Each of them turned and looked at Steve, who they now noticed was there the entire time. Steve. Captain. Chapter 115, Who is Tom Riddle? While Tom was taking care of everything after his battle with Grindelwald, the word was spreading like wildfire across the wizarding world. At first, it started with rumors spreading here and there. Those that were there when Grindelwald fell celebrated and told everyone they passed. Every community in the wizarding world wanted to celebrate but feared what would happen if the information was false. Would a Dark Lord forgive them for celebrating his death if it were a false rumor? Some of the more responsible of those that witnessed Grindelwald's death went to their governments to inform them of what happened. Many governments were skeptical in the beginning, but after administering truth potions, receiving oaths, and seeing memories, they couldn't deny the information any longer. Of course, the oath they all made to not reveal the Elder Wand protected that information from all of this. Soon, each government dispatched Aurors to look into Thomas Riddle's background. They pulled his records, went to his orphanage, and went to Hogwarts to speak with his teachers. Every magical government around the world was looking into this, causing more rumors to spread. The people started hearing about the government's interest in the earlier rumors. Newspapers all around the world, like the Daily Prophet, released front-page news on the possible death of Gellert Grindelwald. These news articles pushed many governments to release the truth to the world. Gellert Grindelwald was dead. Not only that, he was killed by a Hogwarts student named Thomas Riddle. The world celebrated as everyone gave thanks to the boy that slew a man that put fear in the hearts of many. Bars were packed, streets were filled, chants were sung, feasts were held. Every sane magical person that didn't jump on Grindelwald's bandwagon was thrilled. No longer would they live in fear of voicing their opinion against a madman. Governments pretty much gave up trying to retain order, as every wizard and witch celebrated across the world. Many government officials all across the world joined the festivities as well. It wasn't like they were rioting anyway. Many lords and citizens called for Tom Riddle to receive the Order of Merlin, First Class, for his defeat of the dark wizard Gellert Grindelwald, effectively putting an end to a global wizarding war. The Order of Merlin, First Class, is barely awarded every 100 years, so it's an extreme honor to receive it. It is awarded for acts of outstanding bravery or distinction in magic. Everyone would agree that besting a Dark Lord many times his age more than qualifies Tom for this. Some even voiced that Tom should receive the title of Grand Sorcerer as well. Very few people have been awarded this title, and the first to ever hold it was Merlin himself. Although it is just a title, many respect it even more than any Order of Merlin medal. Although many were happy with what Tom did, others were furious and scared. The large majority of these people were those that followed Gellert Grindelwald. Without Gellert to lead them, they would never be able to continue fighting for their cause. Not to mention the fact that all of Grindelwald's strongest acolytes were with him when they died. Many tried to contact their fellow acolytes to come together and form a plan, but most were fleeing for their lives. They knew that once the governments had the time, they would be hunted by every Auror and hit wizard out there. Some were suspicious though. Most of these people are from the Slytherin alumni. They heard of the Slytherin portrait that taught their children at Hogwarts, but they haven't heard of such a strong student. Why was he hiding his strength, and why haven't their children told them about him? Maybe they didn't pay attention to him, as he is a Muggleborn? Some thought, but were still suspicious. Would the great Salazar Slytherin teach a Muggleborn? Questions raced in the Slytherin alumni's minds as they tried to figure out the boy named Tom Riddle. These are very politically oriented people. They know that a boy this strong with this much fame could be a big part of their government. That is if he were interested in that sort of thing. They needed to know if Tom Riddle would become an ally or an enemy. Would the boy support their agenda, or would he fight it as many have? Could the boy be persuaded, or was he a lost cause? Would he accept a marriage between him and one of their daughters? Although many of these people look down on Muggles, one with such strength and fame is different. If it helps their political careers, his background could be easily looked past. Sometimes exceptions have to be made. Many lords of dark houses, like Black and Lestrange, started investigating the boy that killed Gellert Grindelwald. Sadly, there wasn't much to find. They found out everything the governments learned when they investigated, which wasn't much. Tom likes to lay low and keep his secrets close. All they found was what Tom wanted them to find. He's the top student in Hogwarts. He used to not get along with his house, but that changed during his 3rd year for some reason. He's very well liked by every house of Hogwarts. His residence filed at Hogwarts is an orphanage, but he doesn't live there anymore. The matron said he attends a summer school for gifted children. They learned almost nothing. After looking into everything, they were truly stumped. The farther they looked into Tom Riddle, the more they found his last name suited him. The boy is a walking riddle. Who is Tom Riddle and why is he so mysterious? Many Slytherin alumni thought. Chapter 116 New Leadership. Steve. Captain. Bucky and the Howling Commandos exclaimed. They had no idea how they didn't notice Steve standing there. It was like they were incapable of recognizing him. Although they were confused, everyone was ecstatic to see the captain's return. None were more relieved than Bucky. He rushed forward and brought Steve into a brotherly hug. "It's good to have you back, Steve," he says as he steps back. "I didn't really go anywhere, but it's good to be back, I guess." Steve replies with a happy smile. He was glad that those closest to him wouldn't go on thinking he's dead for the rest of their lives. After Tom revealed the secret, it felt like a weight lifted from his shoulders. All of the commandos gave Steve their best wishes and celebrated the return of their leader. "How come we couldn't recognize you before? I mean, you were standing right in front of us," Bucky asks, causing the curious commandos to listen closely. "Tom did a spell to make everyone think I'm dead. If he doesn't reveal it himself, no one will be able to recognize me," Steve informs them. "Huh? What? Why?" The Howling Commandos voiced their confusion. "Yeah, why do you want to fake your death?" Bucky asks. "Well, it's a long story." Steve begins to explain everything. Once it was explained, everyone agreed with the decision. They just want what's best for their friend and leader. Of course, he only told them what they needed to know. Nothing about the team or the future threats were said. Every single one of them was deeply touched that Steve prioritized telling them. If he didn't and they found out, later on, they would have no doubt been hurt and angry about it. "So, does that mean you're leaving the Howling Commandos?" one of Steve's men asked. "Yes, I'm afraid so," Steve answers with a sad smile. Oh. Many of the commandos become dejected. "Hey, it's not like we won't see each other again. We're still brothers in arms. You guys can still fight the good fight, and if you ever need a helping hand, call me and I'll be there to back you up." Steve tries his best to brighten the mood. Hearing Steve's speech, everyone's mood became a lot lighter. The Howling Commandos isn't something you can leave behind. No matter what he does or where he goes, Steve would always be their captain. Although the mood became better, there was one question on everyone's minds. Who will lead us now? A soldier voices what everyone was thinking. Upon hearing the question, Steve smiled and looked over at his longtime friend. As soon as this friend saw Steve's smile, he wanted to run away. No, absolutely not happening. Bucky voices his displeasure with what Steve was thinking. What? I haven't even said anything yet. Steve smirks at his friend's behavior. You don't have to say anything. I already know what it is, and the answer is no. Bucky says resolutely. Bucky, will you? Steve starts. No, don't say it. Bucky interrupts. Will you lead the Howling Commandos in my place? Steve continues with an evil smirk on his face. The second Steve voices his choice on who to lead the Howling Commandos, every soldier agreed with him. Bucky is already the second in command and Steve's right-hand man. He helped Steve with everything, so he would be the best person to take the captain's place. The soldiers could also see how much he hated the idea, but that just made them want him as the leader even more. Matching evil smirks formed on their faces as they all voiced their agreement. Then it's decided. Bucky will lead the Howling Commandos from here on out. Steve announces and everyone cheers and congratulated poor Bucky. The second Steve announced his rank change, Bucky just stood there shocked. He didn't want to lead this band of misfits. It's already annoying being the second in command. Now he has to deal with even more paperwork and responsibilities. Sigh, I hate all of you. Bucky says, resigned to his fate. After informing the Howling Commandos of Steve's well-being, Tom, Peggy, and Steve left via a portal. Mimsy returned to her duties as well. Steve told them that he would give them his phone number when he had one. They needed some way to keep in contact, and letters wouldn't be the best idea. When they returned to Slytherin Manor, Tom told Steve and Peggy that he would get them their own residence. They can't stay in Slytherin Manor forever after all. After dropping the couple off at the manor, Tom opened a portal and left immediately. He's been getting a lot of communications from his followers. All of them giving information about what's been happening in the wizarding world. Many of the Slytherin parents have started becoming suspicious, and started looking into Tom's background. He needs to figure out how to deal with this. Maybe it's time I bring all of the parents into the fold? Tom thought as he stepped through a portal and into Rosier Manor. I should be more than strong enough by now. My lord, it's good to see you again. Francesca Rosier says as she greets Tom. You as well, Lady Rosier. Tom greets back and takes a seat on the sofa. So, you said you were having a problem? She sent a message through the mark earlier saying there were some complications. Yes, because of your newfound fame, many have been investigating into your background. Lady Rosier reveals. I'm aware of this. What's the problem? Tom asks. Well, you're very well known for being close to Druella. Many lords and ladies are asking questions. She says with annoyance in her voice. She's received more owls that she could count. All of them asking about Tom Riddle, stating his close relationship with her daughter. Her husband, Lord Rosier, is currently sifting through the mountain of letters. While more letters keep arriving in droves. Have you answered their questions? Tom asks. No, I was waiting to talk to you, my lord. She denies it as she looks to Tom for what to do. Good, this is what you'll do. Chapter 117 Party Planning. After she met with Tom, Lady Rosier got straight to work. She was excited for her lord's plan to take place. First, she commanded the elves to prepare for a party that will take place in 2 days. Then she got to work sending out the invitations to all living Slytherin alumni, their families, and the parents of Tom's followers, as some of them weren't Slytherins. Of course, Newt and Nagini were invited as well. The invitation stated that Tom Riddle would be attending as the guest of honor, and encouraged the Slytherin parents to bring their children along with them. While she was preparing for her lord's party, Tom was sending a message through the mark to his followers. I'm throwing a party in 2 days. Your parents will receive their invitation within the day. Tag along with them and be ready to fight if the need arises. Tom orders through the mark. All of his followers have gone through a serious confidence boost since Gellert's defeat. Their lord slew the strongest Dark Lord who struck fear in the hearts of many. Those that were unsure and following Tom were now wholeheartedly on board. Strength is well respected in the wizarding world, and Tom showed his for all to see. Some of the more quick-witted followers could see what would be happening during this party. Their lord is finally done hiding from the older Slytherins. Pride swelled in their chests as they waited for the invitations and prepared themselves. Soon, the invitations were sent out and delivered. Since the party is happening on such short notice, it took many owls to deliver all of the letters in time. Everyone that received an invitation was surprised by it. Although Drusilla Rosier is known to be close with Tom Riddle, her parents were very hostile towards him. It confused them as to why they would hold a party in his honor. With more questions piling on top of the enigma that is Tom Riddle, every person that received a letter replied, informing the Rosiers of their acceptance to their invitation. Some were suspicious of the Rosiers, but a chance to meet the man that killed Dark Lord Grindelwald was too tempting to pass up. They had nothing but questions when it came to Tom Riddle. This would be the perfect chance to get some answers. While everyone was preparing for a party in his honor, Tom went home to Kamar-Taj and dived into bed face first. Sigh, this summer may be the busiest I've ever had. He thought as he turned over and started doing his nightly magic draining. Although it's bright outside right now, he needs to get to sleep. He's currently on a London time schedule, after all. While draining his magic, Tom continuously receives messages from his follower, informing him of their invitations arriving and their parents' acceptance. After an hour of draining his magic, as his reserves are huge, and conversing with his followers, Tom comfortably falls asleep. 2 days later on the night of the party, the guests were arriving in cracks of apparition. The Rosier ballroom was filling at an alarming rate. Not a single guest dared to arrive late for this event. Lords and ladies of many houses arrived with their families. This includes noble families like Avery, Black, Bulstrode, Lestrange, Malfoy, Nott, Parkinson, and many more. As the manor was filling with guests, Lord and Lady Rosier were acting as the perfect hosts, ushering in the guests and welcoming them with open arms. Upstairs in Druilla's bedroom, Drusilla was getting changed into a very expensive red muggle ball gown. She knew Tom likes it when she wore muggle outfits, so she decided to fill her wardrobe with muggle clothes. As she was spinning to admire her dress in the mirror, a portal opens behind her and Tom came walking in. He's wearing a slim-fit black muggle tuxedo with a bow tie. You look ravishing, my dear. Tom comments as his eyes trace her form. Have you not learned your lesson from the last time you appeared in my room unannounced? Drusilla asks with a raised eyebrow as her heartbeat quickens at his praise. No, I was hoping to see something similar to last time, in fact. Tom admits unashamed. Prat. She mutters as she eyes Tom's slim suit hungrily. See something you like? Tom teases, causing Drusilla to blush and look away. Seeing her act this way, Tom moves in behind her and takes her into his arms. So, I don't look good? Tom asks with false sadness. I didn't say that. Drusilla stutters as she feels his arms wrap around her. Then you think I'm dashingly handsome? Tom asks with a smirk and moves to capture her lips. No. She exclaims and pushes his face away. I spent a long time on this makeup, Drusilla gestures to her face. And I won't have you ruining it. My Drew won't accept the love I have for her. Tom acts sad and puts his hand over his heart as if it were broken. I didn't say that, you prat. Now stop playing around. I need this makeup for the party. She tells him sternly. Oh really, so once the party is over, I can ruin it all I want? Tom asks as his fake sadness disappears and he pulls Druella into his embrace. Yes. Druella mutters as she enjoys his embrace. Good. Now, are you ready to accompany me to the ball, princess? Tom steps back and bows as he stretches his arm out for her to take. Yes, lead the way, squire. Druella jokes as she grabs his arm. Squire? Tom exclaims, appalled by her choice of words. Why not king or prince? I would have taken knight at the very least. As Druella was laughing at Tom's reaction, a rosier house elf appeared in the room. Pop. Mistress says it's time to make your entrance. The elf informs and pops away to attend to other duties. The joking atmosphere disappears as Tom reaches into his pocket and takes out the Slytherin air ring. After staring at it for a moment, Tom slips the ring onto his finger. Ready? Tom asks one last time. Whenever you are. Druella replies as she grasps his arm tighter. Then let's not keep them waiting. This marks the end of part 14 of the story I'm Voldemort. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe the video to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.